It's Saturday, April 30th, 2022. So, um, somebody that Anthony is working with, whatever, um, had some cards, some collectible, I guess cards or whatever that he wanted to give my son. So we went to the local card store for baseball cards, but they apparently are closed. They're on a side street I would have never seen. But they told us to go to a second location that's on Franny Lou, which is Francis Lewis. It's called The Wrestling Universe. So we went in. We only took one of the boxes in. Me not knowing the process, never being a fan. Not really knowing why these things exist in like corporate loss securities and whatever, and like beating the children that like over and over again and just prove how down and out this Mikasa Sukasa relationship worked for them, holding up other people's reputations for no good reason. So I'm in this whatever, and we go into this place, and he rifles through the cards, and he's like, yeah, he's like, you gotta go. He's like, I collect old stuff. I'm like, well, like, old, like, how old? I'm old. I was like, I'm like 43. I was like, I'm like 1978 old. And he's like, no, like 50s, 60s. And I'm like, right, okay. I was like, all right. So he's like, you gotta go on like eBay. I was like, isn't there like a magazine or like a book? Like there used to be one. He's like, oh, Beckett. And I'm like, is that what it was called? He's like, yeah. I was like, great. Do you have one of those? So he could sit down and he could go through the cards. He's like, oh no. He's like, that they don't. I don't even think they make that anymore. I was like, so what the hell do you do with all this junk? And he's like, oh well, you've gotta, go on eBay. I'm like, eBay? I was like, I don't want to give them any business. I was like, I'm like an avid against them kind of a thing. I was like, so there's no other process? He's like, no. I'm like, uh-huh. I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, thanks. So, I mean, like, again, this is all of this dollar store trinket shit from some other whatever in merchandising with broken promises and ruined families, poisoned, can't even tell you how many, just to get to this spot. I feel like Flushing, is that like a royal flush? Newt was telling me about card games the other night. I'm like, what's with the interest in card games all of a sudden? He's like, I don't know. And he just like, his mind was going. They couldn't shut off. And I'm like, all right, what, come on, Cosmic Nursery, what is your mind telling you? Let me have it. So he's like, because I'm like, maybe it's from the great beyond and his Maori antenna. So in like Area 51 style of subliminal and whatever. So he's like, well, it's, you got an ace, a king, a queen, and a jack, mom, and a 10. That's a royal flush. And I'm like, Flushing is only one town over, and they took Flushing out in 1950s, 60s. So I say to the guy at this wrestling universe, I'm like, so now, Shea Stadium, when was like the original one built? Like when it was Shea, before they did this like whole City Field thing. He's like, well, I was like, I don't know, maybe 50s, 60s. I was like, right, when all the crap started piling over. I was like, and then what's the deal? Like, how long has City Field been there? He's like, maybe 10 years. And I was like, right. I was like, all right. I was like, thanks. And then we left. then Anthony wants to go to McDonald's. I'm like, I don't want him eating this shit. I was like, besides the fact that, like, I don't want to invest in McDonald's any longer because I don't like what they keep investing the money into. I was like, look at, like, what got ahead of us within our life frame with all the money that our parents spent on this stupid restaurant chain and franchise. It's disgusting. So he was just like, so he's like, and I'm like, and your mom is a McDonald. I was like, that's like the really like sad part is that she didn't even have any say in where they could spend the money and on whose future they were spending it on. So we go there, and it's just everything around here is just like, it feels like a no-win. Meanwhile, before I'm watching part of one of the movie franchises, Doctor Strange from 2016. And I mean, I'm like, and then I went out for a walk after I did the video, and I'm like, right, so if gravity, it's like a collapsing black hole, but that's like, everybody knows that kind of a thing. I was like, but if it's a collapsing star system, but it's almost like Gears of War put in this hypothetical Gotham and this hypothetical empire. And then I've got this euphemism, New York. I was like, and in the mirror image, like picture-in-picture windows, like I know I'm in a collapsing star system. I can feel it in every ounce of my body. But, like, who collects that kind of data and information on when the really scary mathematicians and scientists who should never be wrong start some kind of, like, Masters of the Universe competition and then lose themselves in their place? Where do you go for help? Like, do you raise your hand to, like, a celebrity activist that kind of met a few people? Or do you, like, just die while in process, since they're never going to figure it out on their own? Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.